of the wealthy, the top 5%, the top 1%. I was just looking at an analysis that said that the tariff policies are offset most of the tax benefits that the lower portion of the American population would get. So you're increasing tariffs on people and then giving them a little tax break. Meanwhile, the rich are getting a lot of tax benefits. That is going to be unpopular. I mean, already the polling is showing a pretty clear story. Pew, Kaiser Family Foundation, Quinnipiac, Washington Post, Fox, all showing this bill underwater. And, you know, people like Elon Musk are like, I'm just going to primary these people.
I mean, if you're in the audience and thinking this sounds familiar, and you watch CNN as often as I do, it does sound familiar because this is exactly the same thing that many people, including the CBO, were talking about in 2017 with the first Tax Cut and Jobs Act. Right? They were saying that the CBO is going to score this bill, it's going to add to the deficit. CBO basically, we know later on, underestimated growth by 1%. They underestimated $200 billion.
But that's largely the effect of the pandemic.
He talked about the 2016 score, the 2017 score.
No,
you actually quoted Neera. You
score.
actually quoted it. You said in 2017, there's no reason to believe that it would significantly increase either growth or tax revenue, and you were wrong. The CBO.
I mean, Michael just.
We're talking about.
Before we get back into all that crosstalk, I just kind of want to lay out here the anatomy of a CNN and how they obfuscate and tell the half-truths to build the whole lie. I mean, just right there, you have Neera Tanden, former Biden administration official, who was just on the Hill testifying in front of the House Oversight Committee on Tuesday about how she was the one that essentially directed the auto pen scandal. She was the one that signed off on Biden signing massive legislation with huge consequences for the American public with an auto pen, not even signing it himself. That's an aside, but we have her, Neera Tanden, here being caught red-handed in a lie, and saying to Joe Borelli, the former Republican leader of the New York City Council, no, you're wrong. This economist that CNN has on, he just disproved what you just said. That economist is talking about 2016. Here Joe's talking about 2017. Right off the bat, she's trying to muddy the waters, make the fog of information so that the average viewer at home who doesn't have time to read pages of congressional budget legislation and tax analysis, so they don't know what's going on. And that's she's gonna keep doing it. We're gonna get into further, but I just want to point out for everyone how right off the bat she's essentially lying.
GDP came in at about 2.6%. That was right in the middle of the range. You did have above trend growth.
That's why I said an average of $200 billion per year, which is factually accurate. Right. In FY 2022, it was underestimated by $800 billion a year. So the CBO has a history of being wrong. It does.
That's not right.
You also said, by the way, in 2017. Let me finish. You also said in 2017, this is going to be a huge tax cut for the wealthy billionaires and paid for by the middle class. The poverty rate fell to the lowest rate in 50 years. The average family making under $100,000 got a 16% tax cut. And ironically, the top 1% of America, the richest...
I'm going to just say, can I time out for 1 second?
I got to respond.
But his talking points are amazing. He's like rolling them off.
I know. Here's the thing.
First of all, Joe Borelli is like making substantive points with data and analysis to back it off, and Abby Phillips is like, no. Look, we got to let Bakari Sellers chime in here because he has very important analysis. His very important analysis is, hey, look at this guy with the talking points. Like he's a 6-year-old on the playground yard. Look at the nerd who brought information, factual data to back up his points and not the usual BS we pull out of our asses here at CNN. I mean, what do they want him to do? Just make stuff up like everyone else at the network? I don't really understand how it's a laughable matter to say, hey, look at this guy. He's got facts and figures and he's standing on business.
Like quote, I Googled it.
I am so sorry that you can't get back the hour you Googled on this quote. That has nothing to do with
it was Carson.
I mean, is Neera Tanden using Ask Jeeves? Like, why we're making fun of people for using Google? We literally all use Google to research.
Like on the way here, I told you already.
Yeah, well, clearly you were car sick. So here's the difference.
Burn.
The TCJA, the President's Trump's Jobs Act, it was a tax cut bill. You know what it didn't do? It didn't slash health care for millions of working class people. It did not.
Now the goalposts are moving. Hey, I know we were talking about taxes. I know we were talking about how you were wrong, how the Congressional Budget Office is wrong. But that bill, now we're gonna talk about Medicare. Now we're gonna talk about SNAP because you caught me red-handed in a bold-faced lie, and I want to move on.
Basically end food subsidies for working class people. Just to say what this bill does. according to thousands of experts, not just random quotes.
That's what she cites, by the way. She doesn't have facts and figures. According to thousands of experts, I'm a California Valley girl, and everyone agrees with me.
The average increase in costs for working families, the bottom 40% of people, and the 40% of income in the United States, is they get stuck with $560 more on average.
Here, the question
and for wealthy people,
was about taxes.
it's $6,000. No, here's the thing. What
I gave you
don't
your
get,
own quote, and you were wrong. You know how I know you're wrong? I know you're wrong because Kamala Harris and Joe Biden
They both wanted to extend the tax
No,
cuts.
they didn't. They didn't
Joe
want
Biden
to extend the tax cuts for
and
wealthy people.
Kamala Harris
That is
said she was not going to end the tax cuts for 99% of Americans.
You cannot disentangle the impact of cuts to Medicaid and cuts to food assistance from the overall economic impact.
You asked
of
me
this.
about the tax rate.
Here's Abby Phillip now, ushering in the conversation to go to a place where, look, Republican is making way too much sense on CNN. Now we got to change the subject a little bit, all right? We can't let this guy get so many points.
I know, but what I'm saying to you is...
I answered your question.
No, but you're
what
using
I'm saying to you is that you cannot disentangle those
about
things.
The tax revenue?
What is the bill? The question is, what is the bill going to do in terms of financial benefit to the poorest people versus the richest people? And virtually every analysis that takes the bill as it is says the combination of small tax cuts and big Medicaid cuts and big food cuts means that poor people get much less benefit from this bill than rich people. That I don't think even Republicans are disputing that. They're just saying that if you give rich people a tax cut,
they're basing a lot of this on
everything.
CEO, which is not infallible. And I want to go back to the polling real quick.
It's the Yale Budget Lab. It's us and everyone who's
You were talking about how polling is underwater. Well, where I thought you were going with your comment earlier is the polling was underwater for the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act as well. This is the era of Donald Trump, where all the negativity, all the deranged predictions from Democrats do scare people. And when you hear, I've literally heard Democrats say that this bill will rip food out of the mouths of children.
It will.
How absurd! How absurd!
Okay, let me explain to you. Let me explain how it will. Okay, because I think
probably
it's
said it in 2017.
If someone will go and
God.
rip it out of their
Neera,
mouth.
go ahead and finish your thought. 'Cause
Notice how Bakari is allowed to interrupt Joe, but nobody is allowed to interrupt Neera. Neera gets as much time as she wants to finish her nonsensical, unsubstantiated points.
Just here's what happens. They are cutting food benefits, the SNAP program. They are basically cutting this by tens of billions of dollars.
Basically.
And that means that when a family goes to get food benefits, struggling family, they will not be able to get those food benefits.
Just stunningly amazing analysis from Neera Tanden. Once a family goes to get food benefits, they're not going to be able to go get the food benefits. This is pure appeal to emotion, ad hominem. She has the one agency that they were citing, the Congressional Budget Office, once proved to be wrong. They said, no, it's not the Congressional Budget Office. Didn't offer who is. They just said experts. Virtually everybody, all the experts. Everybody knows the experts agree with me because I'm a left-wing Democrat on CNN. So the experts, of course, agree with me because I am the expert.
So you have to live with the consequences of hungrier children in America. And I think
More
what
appeal to
many
emotion.
Americans are asking and why this is so unpopular is when Donald Trump said to Americans, I am the champion of working class people. And let me just quote Josh Hawley here, who said himself, this bill hurts working class people by taking away health care and access to food. And I think the greatest irony and the reason that's driving these people hate this bill is because they did not think they were voting for Donald Trump so that they would pay the cost of tax cuts for the richest Americans.
quick last word, Michael, before we
Well, I think there's a tax for everyone on this if interest rates do go up, because this is a loose fiscal package here. That hurts rich people, that hurts poor people, that hurts people in the middle. So I think that's something to really keep in mind. It's important to realize back in 2019, the 10-year interest rate, the 30-year mortgage were half of where they were now. If those go up by another 100 basis points, it's going to create a lot of spillover problems throughout the economy and for the government.
The final nail in the coffin of the segment, whose entire purpose seems to be to put the idea in the viewer's head: Trump bill equals bad, Trump tax bill bad, families off welfare, families no longer getting SNAP benefits, bad. They go to this sort of sober-minded economist and say, final word, what do you say? And his final nail in the coffin is, if interest rates go up, this could be a tax on everybody. Who is the loudest voice in the media right now in the public sphere demanding interest rates not go up? It's Donald Trump saying, Jerome Powell, you're way too late to slash rates. We need you to bring them down. He wants a new Fed chair, calling him too late Powell, showing him documents that show 32 other countries that slashed rates before him. I think that's a very interesting sort of point to make to the uneducated CNN viewer. Like, oh, look, this could be a tax on everybody. Donald Trump probably wants a rate cut more than anybody in the world, sans Wall Street. This is from the economist Stephen Moore, who, as Joe was succinctly pointing out there, explains that the CBO often gets things wrong. And in this case, for the new tax bill, the Trump administration's argument is that while some say it will add to the deficit, it is also going to promote growth by eliminating some of the subsidies for green energy, for EVs, electric vehicle credits, and combined with the amount of drilling that they're going to do, they're going to promote energy expansion. It's supposed to help promote growth and build the economy, raising the middle class in that way. Now, there are principled deficit hawks, like your Rand Pauls of the world, like your Thomas Massey's of the world, who may still have an issue with the bill adding to the deficit, regardless of what the growth may be. I have no issue with their principled stances on that. I do have an issue with people at CNN who were very obviously wrong in the past, now trying to rewrite history. And so I just wanted to kind of read a quote or two, some information about the Congressional Budget Office. This is from the economist Stephen Moore. The CBO does not measure the economy-wide benefits of lower tax rates and thus doesn't adjust for higher employment and growth, which happens every time we cut the rates. Essentially, what is the argument of the Trump administration is that this tax bill will create growth, which is ultimately going to reduce the deficit, not increase it. Now, another CBO fact, in 2024, when Joe Biden passed the IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act, the CBO estimated that it would reduce the deficit by $58.1 billion between 2024 and 2031. That's pretty good.